English translation 414th contact Friday 31st of March 2006, 1454.
Ah, there you are. The surprise succeeded when Florina called me at 14:05 and said that you wanted to come here today. When I told her I was not going shopping today, she asked why, of course. So I told her that 2 weeks ago, I slipped and fell flat on my back on the ice that night, which is why I had to go to the doctor and take strong medication, because I suffered severe internal contusions and could hardly breathe for 36 hours. I could not sleep or lie down either, so I sat on the sofa the whole time. Luckily, I pulled my head up when I fell, otherwise it would have probably smashed my skull. However, everything is already okay again so far that I have only a few pains left, which only occur occasionally. But what makes problems is driving a car, because the blows caused by unevenness of the road make everything in the body go haywire. So next week I stay at home while Silvano goes on a shopping tour. But everything is already so far back in order that you do not have to do anything more in terms of pain relief and healing. Now be warmly welcomed and greeted, my friend. Actually, I did not expect you until tomorrow, Saturday the 1st of April, because you declared that you would come back in April.
That was intended, yes, but I was called back earlier because of urgent matters that I had to take care of. But I was planning on coming here on the 1st of April anyway. So now I have another week off. And because I came home earlier, I can come back here with you sooner. I would like to tell you in a private wise what happened at our meeting, where everyone who knows you personally was present. However, be greeted, dear friend. And do you really think that I do not have to do anything about your health anymore?
No, there is no need. Really, there is not.
Where did you fall on the ice?
In front of the house.
Where there should not be any ice. But I understand. Since you yourself are no longer responsible for clearing the snow after your health collapse in the early morning of the 4th of November 1982, snow clearing is no longer carried out in the responsible manner as it was in your case. Even around the buildings, there is not an efficient snow removal and ice clearance, so it has become dangerous to walk around the buildings and on the street during the winter time when snow has fallen. Due to this lax snow removal and the irresponsible manner of allowing ice to form around the buildings and on the street and not removing emerging ice immediately, it has become impossible for us to be able to walk around in the center's areas during the winter time. And as we have also observed, apart from us and the center's residents, the persons of the night watch are also endangered by possible dangerous falls on the ice surfaces. Those responsible for snow clearance should therefore think about something better in the future and make every effort to do their work properly and in such a manner that neither snow nor ice will cause any hindrance, which includes that mounding snow, ice, and snow surfaces are immediately cleared away when they occur.
I do not think I can say anything about that because I know you are right. Besides, I have often complained about the whole thing without success. But first I have an important question, if you will allow me, in relation to what Sim Yase explained in 1975, that core group interested parties must not be told whether they have created a destiny since ancient times through their old personalities to participate in modern times as a member of the Figu core group. She stated at the time that this must be kept, at least for the initial period, after which, after a certain period of time, this clause will lapse. For my part, however, I no longer know exactly how long this period was actually scheduled, although I somehow arrive at 30 years. But look here, this is a letter that you should read first before you answer my question. And here I also have this article, of which I would like to know what you have to say about it.
Reads the letter and the article. I want to edit the article with you, then give it to Bridget to read. In its present form, it does not correspond to what I have to say about the letter. But listen, your memory is good, because the clause actually ended on the 28th of January 2005. From that date on, interested parties may be told whether they are pending any of the clauses you mentioned, including with regard to membership of the core group. This, however, may only be done in accordance with the other provisions, which remain in force and which state that only after a considerable period of time and after a relevant study of the spiritual teaching, aka creation energy teaching, and all other necessary facts may a relevant explanation be given on a factual question concerning a provision of a membership. As was explained at that time by my daughter Simyase and also later by Quetzal, a period of 2 years applies here, during which an appropriate and serious study of the spiritual teaching and all other necessary facts is to be pursued. Only after this period shall a corresponding question concerning a provision relating to membership be dealt with. Of course, such an answer must always be based on the assumption that the board of directors responsible for these matters is oriented with regard to a corresponding provision. But this is only possible as long as you are alive and can obtain the necessary information via the memory banks or from us. There is no obligation to answer such a question regarding a provision for core group membership or passive membership. If you are no longer, then such questions regarding personal regulations automatically fall away. It should also be noted that if after 2 years of study, the question of a determination is raised by an interested person, then it is not the determination that is important, but only the personal interest and need and the very own will, whether one wishes to join the FIGU as a core group member, as a secondary core group member, or as a passive member. If the study, the interest and the need as well as the will is given, then there is the obligation that during the following 2 years, as often as possible, one has to appear and work in the center, whereby the first and third weekend and therefore, if possible, at least 1 monthly, twice-monthly work in the center is required. These 2 years represent a probationary period, through which it will be shown whether the person concerned is really interested and willing to become a member of the FIGU community of the core group and to assume all the necessary duties. If this is the case after the aforementioned period, then an application for core group membership can be made, on which the core group as a whole must then decide. If an admission is decided, which can only be provisional for the time being, but which includes all duties, then the member concerned must complete a 2-year probationary period. As explained with the exercise of all duties prescribed by the statutes and articles of association and by further core group resolutions, or will be given in the future. In this whole procedure, strict attention must be paid to ensuring that no missionary work is carried out with interested parties, just as it must not be the case for the entire mission. Therefore, any person who is concerned with the spiritual teaching and all the facts, or who wishes to join a group of the FIGU Association, must do so of his or her own accord, interest, and will, without being encouraged in any kind and wise. Only through this can a constancy arise, which anchors in true values. And again, never an earlier destiny is of importance, but only one's own drive. True interest, honesty, and love for missionary fulfillment, as well as the will to take on the heavy burden and to carry it in full responsibility until the last possibility and consequence. So every person must decide freely according to these high values, but not according to any possible or effective destiny. A provision, both a possible and an effective one, can only become meaningful if the values mentioned are fulfilled willingly and on one's own initiative and with full responsibility. A provision alone is not enough, because if a person does not wish to join the core group, secondary core group, or passive group of his or her own accord, logically and responsibly, and if all the high values are not deliberately carried out in full responsibility, then the provision is worth no more than fading smoke. If someone has made a determination earlier, and I am referring to what is written here in this letter, then this is not a decisive point, for the whole thing will only become decisive when the person concerned accepts the determination of his or her own free will, honestly and responsibly, and fulfills his or her duty associated with it, which is in no wise easy, and can only be borne if everything is given in respect of his or her own free will for the fulfillment of the mission. If a person must first be made aware of his or her destiny, this does not bring about any lasting effect, because the necessary maturity for membership and the profound fulfillment of the duty connected with it are not yet given. For if membership and duties are only taken on, and the destiny fulfilled because there was a hint with a fence post, broad hint, as you once explained to me impressively with this saying when we talked about other things, then joining as a core group member is worthless. Again, your expression is apt, because such a hint with a fence post is misplaced if a person shows an interest, in quotation marks, in FIGU membership only because of this. If there is no one personal and honest interest of one's own accord for membership, without the person concerned having to be informed first, then this is useless because there can be nothing lasting in the case of membership and in the case of the extensive fulfillment of duties. Such a membership is only based on a drive and interest that is based on animation and therefore not on one's own honest opinion and truthful knowledge. Such a membership, however, is pointless, because it can never be sustainable and only brings harm to the FIGU group and mission, as has been proven time and again by all those FIGU members who have not followed the rules we have drawn up. If it is written in this letter that during a consultation, by relativizing and trivializing, nothing should be taken away or watered down, then this is not justified and proves that the person concerned is not yet mature enough for FIGU core group membership. Obviously, she was not, out of her own honest motivation and interest and sense of responsibility, trying to seek a consultation regarding core group membership. It seems to me that our regulations have been unjustifiably violated, and that the writer of the letter was encouraged to seek a consultation regarding core group membership. And what is written as a final sentence, that the FIGU does itself no favors with contradictions, is to be countered by the fact that our regulations do not move in contradictions, but in psychologically very well-developed forms, which have helped the free interest group to what it embodies today with steadfast members. This last sentence alone proves that the writer in question has not yet gained the necessary insight and would not yet be mature enough to perform the tasks in the core group that they would have to take on. Furthermore, she has not done herself any favors by this writing, but has clearly shown that she still has a lot to learn. Although this could be changed for the better by a 2-year probationary period, it is questionable for me at the moment whether the writer will be willing to take this on herself and then, if necessary, to accept a further 2-year probationary period if an application for membership by the core group is then answered positively. First of all, this letter reveals only an unjustified attack against the FIGU advisor and against our instructions, as well as a form of alleged discrimination against the letter writer by the advisor, which is of course not the case. It must also be said that the free community of interests is not a religion or a sect that encourages people to join and imposes a belief on them, as is the case with religions and sects. In FIGU, each person must first prove and demonstrate himself or herself worthy before membership can be considered and pronounced, whereby In addition, with regard to core group membership or secondary core group membership, particularly strict conditions must be set and fulfilled, which are not given in the case of passive membership. And what I still want to explain, if up to now there has been a delay with regard to the missing 7 core group members, then this is solely due to the fact that these persons have not yet found the way to membership because they have not yet become aware of their responsibility and have not yet honestly found their interest in participating in the mission. In order to come to the realization within themselves that they must finally summon up their necessary energies and powers if they want to fulfill their duties and responsibilities. Basically, it can be said that a shirking of commitment is given because the persons concerned turn away from responsibility and the fulfillment of their duties.
A long speech, but it does provide clarity. Thank you. When you have left, I will retrieve the recordings immediately, and then present this matter to the core group this weekend.
That is a good word, because if you do that, then the rules of conduct regarding counseling interviews for those interested in core group membership will be refreshed once again, which is obviously necessary. This letter and this article clearly state this necessity.
All right, I will take the whole thing in hand. But look here, I still have some official business that I would like to discuss with you, because it should not be forgotten. I also have to talk to you about Hans-Georg and get your advice. Also, regarding the internet, I still have something from Stefan, but I think you should ask Zafanat Paniach about it, if you can still do that. I would be grateful if you could inform me about the answer by tomorrow evening at the latest, so that I can let Stefan know. Here, I will make copies of these for you to take with you and present them to Zafanat Paniach. I think we should discuss this in private.
It should be as you wish, but I would also like to have some private words with you.
Nothing stands in the way of this, of course.
Then I would like to talk about some other things now, if you agree. Of course, but I thought you were not going to give me new predictions until April because you said on the 28th of January that you would not give me new predictions until April. Today it is only the 31st of March, and until then the predictions are sufficient. So I did not expect any news until tomorrow. That is right, but tomorrow I am indispensable, so I moved my visit forward to today, which was made possible because I was called back earlier than planned. With the other things, I did not mean predictions, but something private. Already on the 28th of January, I declared that we should only make very sparse predictions, and that we should do so only with regard to very extraordinary things. This saves us a lot of work, because we can limit ourselves to certain events that can be calculated in terms of probability, so that we can work specifically on such things in a predictive manner.
Aha, then just go ahead. What else do you have to say? For my part, I also have some private things that I would like to discuss with you, because there is a problem with a good friend of mine, and he would like to hear your opinion about it, if you are willing to give an answer. I also think that an individual clarification of the attitude of a person involved in the problem would be advantageous, because my friend could then act according to the matter.
Then let us hear it, because what I want to discuss with you can still wait.
Fine, thank you. It is about if you can give your answer neutrally that I can include it in the report when I call up our conversation. Then I can later give my friend an extract so that he can have it in writing.
Of course. I see only 3 possibilities as to what you are saying, and that is that the material in question was appropriated by the person in question at that early stage when the matter took place. The unlawful appropriation being in the sense of producing the material at an appropriate time in order to be able to exert a wicked coercion on the author of the documents. The second possibility is that the second party involved in the relationship has passed the material to the first party out of jealousy. And the third possibility is that the second and third parties have joined forces to harm your friend and force him to do things. And so, as you have explained to me, I see first and foremost the first possibility I mentioned. For once, I am also willing to explore the attitude of the person from whom the problems originate. However, it will take some time, so that I can inform you about the result at the beginning of the week at the earliest.
Thank you. Your mentioned possibilities of the eventual situation are interesting, because exactly the same possibilities I have already considered and presented to my friend. For my part, I have also considered the first possibility as most likely. But what do you think about the fact that he should be forced to undergo psychiatric treatment?
Under no circumstances should he accept this, because firstly, there is no reason to do so, and secondly, such a request is unacceptable. If he were to give in to this, he would be humiliated and would allow himself to be forced into humility and slavish behavior.
I also explained that to him.
Then you stood by him with good advice. He should act on it.
If we meet again on occasion or call each other, I will give him your opinion. Maybe you can also tell me what you found out about the attitude of the one person.
It is my desire to try to do this as soon as possible so that I can give you the facts which you can then present to your friend. But now, dear friend, I would like to come to my concerns, which are of such a private nature that they should not be recorded in writing if you call up our conversation later.
Of course.
The first thing is this.